Do you guys remember Bucky from Captain America who was brainwashed by the Hydra? Brainwashed. Brainwashing seems quite like sci-fi, but is it? There are different techniques of brainwashing someone, and different people have used these techniques for different purposes over the years. Different leaders, political figures, cult leaders, religious leaders, fake religious leaders, big marketing agencies and big companies have used these techniques for their own benefit. Also, before the video starts, I gotta tell you guys that brainwashing isn't something that has been proven scientifically. So scientists call brainwashing as a pseudo-scientific term. At the same time, brainwashing seems like quite a big concept. So for the sake of this particular video, we're gonna consider brainwashing as something or anything that changes the way someone thinks or changes the way someone perceives the world. Getting back to the topic in hand, the two most important techniques, the most effective techniques in brainwashing are repetition and commonization. No matter how idiotic or illogical your opinion or your argument is, if you keep on repeating it over a long period of time, people will eventually start believing in it. For example, let's talk about how terrorists get people to join their side. How do they convince people that by killing other people they are doing God's work, or by killing other people they are gonna get rewards in heaven? CBSN did a news item on ISIS recruiting kids a few years back. If you wanna watch that video, the link would be in the description. When ISIS recruited kids, they didn't just teach them how to use guns or just how to kill people. They kind of made these kids comfortable with the idea of killing other people. And how they did this was exactly by using two techniques that we talked about, repetition and commonization. Here's the first great textbook that they found. Fill in the blanks included things like, I can shoot. Can I? Yes, I can. He can bomb. Can he? Yes, he can. They are making kids comfortable with the idea of killing other people or using a bomb. Now, here's another exercise in that textbook. Instead of using normal clocks to teach these kids time, they used a time bomb so that these kids kind of get cognized, generalized and familiar with the concept of bombs. So what will happen in the long term is that these kids will kind of get comfortable with killing people over the years when they are taught these same things over and over again and again.
It's the most subtle form of brainwashing. It's repetition and it's normalizing.
See, these are the exact two techniques that we talked about, repetition and commonization. Well, it isn't exactly easy to brainwash people, but there are a few factors that contribute in the process. Few of them are lack of sleep, restricted diet, emotional instability, and isolation. These are few of the factors that contribute a lot in the process of brainwashing. Now, let's take an example of this. A guy called Jim Jones, who was a cult leader, moved to Jonestown, formerly known as Georgetown, in Guyana, far away from US and its laws, along with few of his followers. Soon the number grew to 900 plus. And later on, he kind of isolated all of his followers. He didn't let his followers go out of the Jonestown, and he didn't let his followers send letters or call people outside of the Jonestown. He didn't let all of his followers get in contact with their families back in US.
Jim couldn't have people leaving when they wanted to and not be committed to who the People's Temple was. He had to have people who wanted to come there, and they would have to stay because they would have to help out, because without them, the People's Temple would be nothing.
Because if you would have let people of Jonestown communicate with the outside world, someone would have stopped his plan of mass suicide, and he didn't want that to happen. So the major factor that played a role here was isolation.
Infinite suicide was an act of revolutionary suicide protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
He was somehow able to convince people that by killing themselves and killing their kids as well, they would be part of a revolution. And if that's not brainwashing, I don't know what is. Now, let's talk about an advertising campaign that kind of brainwashed people. Call it brainwashing or call it a great advertising campaign. The campaign that I'm talking about is of Marlboro's. Marlboro, the cigarette company. In early 1950s, studies came out that cigarettes cause cancer, and the sales of cigarettes dropped drastically. And most of the cigarette companies shifted their way of advertising from just showcasing their product to something like this.
How mild can a cigarette be?
Well, I've been smoking Camels for 20 years.
I know they're mild and they really taste great.
Yes, camels are so mild that in a test of hundreds of people who smoked only camels for 30 days, throat specialists making weekly examinations reported not one single case of throat irritation due to smoking camels.
But the problem here was no one wants to smoke a cigarette because it has lesser chances of giving you cancer. People smoke cigarette because it looks cool, and that's exactly what Marlboro showcased. And they kind of made smoking cigarette a cool thing. They created a guy called as Marlboro Man. He was a cowboy who used to get down from his horse and smoke a cigarette. So people kind of got this idea that smoking cigarette is a macho thing. Smoking cigarette is kind of a cool thing to do. And because of this particular marketing campaign, Marlboro went on from owning less than 1% of the market share to becoming the world's fourth largest cigarette company. In the next 4 years, it became the world's biggest cigarette selling company. They were somehow able to convince people that smoking cigarette is fine, even though people knew that it caused cancer. The techniques they used were exact to techniques that we talked about, reputation and commonization. By watching these commercials again and again, people kind of got familiarized with the concept of smoking, and people thought that smoking cigarette wasn't a big deal. Everyone does it. So now that you know about these techniques, next time whenever you see someone repeating something again and again and again,
ड्रग दो ड्रग दो ड्रग दो ड्रग दो ड्रग दो मुझे ड्रग दो मुझे ड्रग्स दो
maybe you should move away from it. And now that you know these techniques, use them wisely. Until my next video comes out, take care. Bye bye.